This is placeholder media that you'll see if you add a layout to an empty scene. You can go ahead and delete it. This is placeholder media that you'll see if you add a layout to an empty scene. You can go ahead and delete it.
Hello, overwhelming love of Jesus people. In this video, I'm going to talk about the scandal of love overrules. Now, it's quite difficult, really, to think about Jesus in terms of scandal, because the people who call themselves representing Jesus hate the idea of being associated with scandal. And usually in the past, it's been some sort of sexual promiscuity type of scandal. But Jesus was perfectly willing to be involved in scandal. One of my favorite examples of that is when he told the Pharisees, before Abraham was, I am. He was speaking the truth. And Jesus knew the reaction that he was going to get by saying that. And the reaction was they tried to kill him. So Jesus was not beyond being involved in scandal. Another example of that is when he said, lest you eat of my flesh and drink of my blood, you have no life in you. Knowing that it was profoundly against the religious teachings of eating flesh and drinking blood. That was profoundly scandalous, yet he said it. And people just jetted away from him. And he had to ask the disciples, aren't you going to run away too? So Jesus was perfectly comfortable being involved in scandal. But again, as I emphasize in this channel, with the story of the woman of the well, to me, that is another powerful example of Jesus being willing to be involved in scandal. He shouldn't have been near that woman. He shouldn't have been in Samaria in the first place. The Israelites avoided that area and went around that area to go where they needed to go. But Jesus didn't worry about being involved in scandal because he knew that the norms of his time were so flawed that to be truly himself, he would have to be scandalous. And he was scandalous at that well according to those times. She was a woman. She was a foreigner. Again, we can relate very strongly to how those categories are looked upon in our day. She was sexually promiscuous at the time he was with her, because he said, the man you are with now is not your husband. So he knew her. And what was his response? Was it condemnation? Was it pointing a finger? Was it saying that she was somehow dehumanized and not worthy of his attention? No, the opposite. He engaged her. He spoke to her. He offered her powerful elements of himself, the living water, which you consume and you will no longer be thirsty. So that is the example of Jesus' scandal, willingness to be a part of scandal instead of enforcing the rules. Because if he was concerned about the rules, he wouldn't even have talked to her. He wouldn't have even been there in the first place. But in order to be himself and to carry out what the Father had called for him to carry out, he knew he had to cross those boundaries, to break those rules, and by implication, be involved in scandal. So it's my hope in this channel, The Overwhelming Love of Jesus, that more of us would be willing to be scandalous so that we can express and share with the world the overwhelming love of Jesus.